Hi guys, I've just noticed that my hair is quite buffy today. I've got quite a big bouffant at the back of it. My hair's a real mess at the moment because I used to have extensions in, I've taken them out, and I am going to put some more back in. I'm hoping to do the tape hair extensions in a couple of days, and I am going to film that. So if you're interested in hair extensions and specifically tape hair extensions, then I will be putting a video up showing you how I put them in myself. As long as it works out okay, because if I end up messing them up, then there may not be a video on it. But yeah, fingers crossed I can do it and it'll look okay. Anyway, I am not here to chat about hair today. I am, of course, back with another baby names video as it's a Wednesday. And I thought today I would look at unisex baby names because they're very on trend at the moment. Obviously there's this whole thing about gender neutral at the moment, but I don't think that's the only reason that they're quite trendy. I think it's also just because quite a lot of these names are quite cool and, you know, it's a little bit different. So I've chosen 15 names. I normally do 10 names per video, but there were quite a few unisex names that I really liked, so I've decided to do 15. But I'm not going to chat too much about each one. I'll give a little bit of background about its meaning and things like that, but I'll not blabber too much so that this video isn't too long. Speaking of not blabbering too much, I will shut up now and let's get straight into this with the first name. So number one on my list is the name River, and I absolutely love this name. I have mentioned it before in one of my videos, and it's a name that if we had another baby, it would be on my list because I really, really love it. Now, I had always thought of it more as a boy's name, but Kelly Clarkson called her little girl River Rose, and since then it has become more popular as a girl's name, and I think River Rose together is absolutely beautiful, so I think it just works really well as a girl's or a boy's name. And in terms of the meaning, well, I guess it's pretty self-explanatory because it means river, you know, that water thing that goes through lots of towns and cities. So yeah, that's the meaning of river. Next, it's the name Taylor, spelled T-A-Y-L-O-R, and I guess most recently that name is probably associated with Taylor Swift, who of course is a girl, but traditionally it was more of a boy's name. And here in the UK, Taylor is still more popular as a boy's name, but in America it's slightly more popular as a girl's name, but I think it works really, really well for either sex. It started off as an English surname, meaning sort of somebody who tailors clothes or who cuts clothes, and although it is traditionally a boy's name, it actually does date back quite far as a girl's name. It can be dated back as far as 1900 when there was an author who was called Taylor Caldwell, and she was born in 1900. So even though, yeah, we probably know it because of Taylor Swift, and that's definitely brought it back into popularity, it has been used as a girl's name for over 100 years now. Next, it's the name Frankie, spelled F-R-A-N-K-I-E. And that was a bit of a nickname for the name Frank originally, and also it could be a shortened version of Francesca. But recently it has become known as a name on its own, so whether for a boy or a girl, doesn't have to be Francesca, just straight Frankie. I do know a vlogger called Finding Tori whose little girl is called Frankie. And then I also know a little boy called Frankie, so yeah, I think it is definitely quite common for both girls and boys. It's probably still slightly more common as a boy's name at the moment, but I think it's very cool for a girl's name as well. It has a number of meanings because it can mean honest, it can mean javelin, randomly, it can mean free, and it can also mean French or someone who's from France because of obviously the association with Francais to Frankie. Next then, it's the name Aspen, A-S-P-E-N. I've mentioned this name once before as well because I think this is a really funky, cool name, and I've had a couple of people called Aspen message me actually on one of my baby names videos. So hello if you're called Aspen and you've watched before. I really love this name for a girl or a boy. I did mention it in my cool baby boy names list a while ago, but actually I do really like it as a girl's name as well. Of course, there is Aspen in Colorado, the very chic ski resort. If you're into skiing, then Aspen might be the name for you, but it actually comes from a type of tree, and it's a tree which is sort of native to the UK and Western Europe. So yeah, it also has a nature link to it. So I just really, really like how it sounds. I love the name Aspen, and I think it works really well for a girl or a boy. Next, it's the name Schuyler, spelled S-K-Y-L-E-R, although you could spell it S-K-Y-L-A-R, which is probably slightly more the female version. But yeah, they're both pronounced the same way, Schuyler. And if you were a fan of Breaking Bad, you may have known this name because of course Walter's wife was called Schuyler, and she did spell it actually with an ER at the end, not an AR. So yeah, the SKYLER can be used for a girl or a boy. I think it's a very funky name now, very modern kind of name. You could maybe shorten it to Sky if it's a girl, or I guess if it's a boy as well. The name actually originates from a Dutch surname, which is called Schuyler. I hope I pronounced that okay. Anyone who's Dutch, you can tell me off because I probably said it wrong, but yeah, it's a Dutch surname. And when the settlers moved to America in the 17th century, that's when the name first was heard in the US, and through the years it became more anglicized from Schuyler to Schuyler, so that's where it originates from. Next, it's a name which I had actually known of more as a boy's name until very recently, and it's the name Noah, spelled N-O-A-H, which I think is lovely as a boy's name, but I know another vlogger, actually the same one I mentioned earlier, Finding Tori, she has her youngest daughter is called Noah, spelled N-O-A, and I actually think it is so cute for a little girl. I'd never heard of it for a girl before that, but I did a little bit of research into it, and actually there is a female Noah in the Bible. She appears in Numbers 27. So if you're looking for something that's a bit different, but I think is also a really, really lovely name, I think Noah for a girl is lovely. I do love it for a boy as well. And you can spell it with an H at the end for a girl, and that was the I can't say the word, biblical spelling, or you can make it a bit more modern, just N-O-A. Next, it's the name Presley, spelled P-R-E-S-L-E-Y, and you probably know the name from, of course, Elvis Presley. So it was his surname, but now it's become very popular as a first name. But it actually grew in popularity more from like the 90s onwards. I thought it might have been maybe from like the late 70s when Elvis Presley died, but it still took a while before it kind of really caught on as a trend. But yeah, in the 90s you started to hear the name more actually as a boy's name originally, but more recently it started to become very popular as a girl's name. I think it works really well for both. I did have it actually on my list of baby boys names because I do quite like it for a boy, but yeah, also very trendy for a girl. Next, it's another place name. I obviously mentioned Aspen earlier on, and actually I think sort of place names work quite well as unisex names. And the next name is somewhere where I used to work, and it's the name London. L-O-N-D-O-N. I have seen it spelled L-O-N-D-Y-N as well, so if you're looking something a little bit different, then maybe you could spell it that way. Of course, it does originate from the capital city, or the capital of England, London, which was originally called Londinium. So that is where the word comes from. But I just think very funky name, very trendy name, very modern name. It actually spiked in popularity around the mid 2000s, and then it's kind of gone down a little bit in popularity, but not loads. But compared to 20 years ago, it's still much more popular. Next, it's the name Hayden, which you can either spell H-A-Y-D-E-N, or you can miss out the E and just spell it H-A-Y-D-N. And it can be used for a boy or a girl, and there are quite a few celebrities out there with the name. You have Hayden Christensen, who's obviously a boy, but then you have Hayden Panettiere, who's a girl. So yeah, it can be used for either, and I think it's really pretty for both. The name is actually derived from the surname Hayden, which means heathen, or it can also be linked to the Welsh name Aiden, so it can come from that too, and that name means fire. Next, it's a name which I think most of us would associate with boys, or a boy's name, but then a few years ago, a very high profile A-list couple named their daughter this name, and it is now growing as a girl's name, and it is the name James, spelled J-A-M-E-S, or you could spell it with a Y, so J-A-Y-M-E-S. It's a name, as I said, that I'd only heard of as a boy's name until Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds named their child James a few years ago. I'm not sure exactly how many, about 4 or 5, something like that. But their little girl isn't the first James. There have been a few girl Jameses out there, and even the actress Jamie King actually used to use the name James for some of her early acting work. So she was actually christened Jamie, but then did use the name James when she was starting off as an actress. So yeah, maybe you could use it for a boy or a girl using either of the spellings that I mentioned earlier. I personally would probably still know of it more as a boy's name, but yeah, let me know what you think of it as a girl's name. Next, it's a name which I mentioned in my Irish baby names list, and it is the name Shay. And you can spell it a few different ways. It can be spelled S-H-A-E, S-H-E-A, or S-H-A-Y. So there are quite a few different spellings of it, but yeah, all pronounced the same way. And it is a Gaelic name, which means full of majesty. So I really like it because of the Irish connection. I just like how it sounds. I personally would like it for a boy's name, but it is probably more popular as a girl's name, certainly in America. In Ireland, it's more popular as a boy's name, but in America, it's much more popular as a girl's name. And the name, in terms of celebrities, probably the most well-known celebrity with the name would be Shay Mitchell, who's the star of Pretty Little Liars. Of course, she's female, but yeah, it can be used as a boy's or a girl's name. Oh, my leg has gone to sleep. Next, it's the name Sydney, spelled S-Y-D-N-E-Y. You could spell it the more traditional way, which is S-I-D-N-E-Y, but that does tend to be more associated with boys, whereas Sydney with a Y I think is slightly more unisex. You've probably heard the name from, of course, Sydney in Australia, but its origin is actually French and comes from the place name Saint Denis. And although it is traditionally a boy's name, it became popular as a girl's name in the 1980s because of a celebrity and a madam called Sydney Biddle Barrows. And yeah, so that's where the name first kind of became popular for girls. And now in the 2000s, it's still pretty popular as a girl's name, but I think also works for a boy as well. And I think Sid for a little boy is such a cute name. Next, it's another Gaelic name, and it's the name Quinn, spelt Q-U-I-N-N. And it actually originates from an Irish surname, O'Quinn. So that's where it comes from, and it actually means intelligence. So if you're looking for a name for, you know, a smart baby, then maybe Quinn is one for you. And I think it works really well either as a boy's or a girl's name, and I've heard it used in both. I know a girl who has a girl called Quinn, and I know a friend who has a boy called Quinn. So yeah, it really works quite well as a name for either sex. Next, I think this name is really, really cute, and it's the name Wren, spelled W-R-E-N, and that is, of course, after the bird wren. And yeah, so I think that's a very sweet name for a little baby. And again, this is very much a unisex name. I don't know if you know of the vlogger Katie Ellison, who is from Daddy Mummy Me, and her little boy is called Wren. And then another vlogger, Emily Norris, she has a little niece called Wren as well. So yeah, it's very much a unisex name, can be used for either boys or girls. I just think it's very, very sweet. And it also has a Welsh connection, so if you're Welsh, maybe you'd like it, because in Welsh it means ruler. And finally, it's a name which I'm sure you've all heard of, and it's the name Charlie, spelled C-H-A-R-L-I-E. And there's just something about this name that just sort of makes you think of somebody who's really friendly, you know, fun time Charlie. And there's a little boy in Sophia's class who's called Charlie, and he's so lovely. And I have a friend who's a girl called Charlie, and she's also lovely. So yeah, I really like this name, but it does work really well for either sex. Often Charlie for a girl is the shortened version of Charlotte, but people are starting to use it on its own, just as a name, just christening their babies Charlie rather than Charlotte. And also, yeah, it was a nickname for Charles, but again, most people, rather than calling their baby Charles, are calling them Charlie for a boy. So I just think it works really, really well for both sexes. It does actually have more of a masculine meaning because it comes from Charles, which means free man. So it may have a masculine meaning, but it's becoming so popular as a girl's name that it's actually more popular for girls in the US than it is for boys. Here in the UK, it's still more popular as a boy's name, but it's definitely growing in popularity for girls. So yeah, I think if you're looking for a good unisex name, maybe you don't know the sex of your baby and are trying to choose a name, well, Charlie might be the perfect one for you. So those are 15 of my favorite unisex baby names, and I hope that you liked some of them. Let me know what you think. Leave any comments below. It's always good to get some feedback, and let me know if your children are named any of them as well, and if they're a boy or a girl. I'll be back very soon with another video. I'll have another baby names video next Wednesday, and I'm hoping it'll be quite a special one with somebody who you might recognize if you're a fan of baby names. It's another vlogger, and yeah, hopefully our video will be up next week, but we are going to film one soon. And yeah, if you like baby names videos, then please subscribe, click the little subscribe button, and also the notification bell. And I'll be back very soon with another video. Okay, take care, bye.